The vast chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with beings from 12 different worlds. Some walked on 2 legs like the tall, blue-skinned Zephyrians. Others moved on 4 legs like the armored Kronak warriors. The peaceful Velothi floated in the air with their glowing tentacles swaying gently. They had all gathered here on Nexus Prime, the capital planet of their great alliance, to discuss the usual matters of trade and territory. But today was different. Today, something impossible was happening at the edge of their space. Admiral Kex-Tar of the Zephyrian fleet stood before a massive screen that showed the dark emptiness of space. His 6 eyes were wide with disbelief as he stared at the readings his sensors were sending back. For 3,000 years, his people had protected this region of the galaxy. They knew every ship, every station, every piece of space junk that moved through their territory. Nothing surprised them anymore. Until now. "Show me the readings again," he said to his aide, a young Zephyrian named Velak. The screen changed to display numbers and charts that made no sense. There were ships out there, dozens of them, moving toward Council space. But these were not like any ships in their databases. The energy signatures were completely unknown. The hull designs were smooth and strange, with flowing curves that seemed to bend light around them. "Sir," Velak said quietly, "the computer cannot identify these vessels. They do not match any known technology in the galaxy." Admiral Kex-Tar felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of service, he had never encountered anything the Council computers could not identify. Every species in the galaxy was cataloged. Every ship design was recorded. Every weapon system was analyzed and understood. But not these ships. The largest vessel in the approaching fleet was enormous, bigger than anything the Council had ever built. It moved through space with a grace that seemed impossible for something so massive. Behind it followed smaller ships, each one still larger than most Council cruisers, arranged in a perfect formation that spoke of discipline and advanced coordination. "Where did they come from?" Admiral Kex-Tar asked. "That is the strange part, sir," Velak replied. "Our long-range sensors show no trace of their approach. They simply appeared at the edge of our detection range, as if they materialized from nothing." In the Council archives deep beneath the capital city, an old Velothi scholar named Wise Singer Mothel was reviewing ancient texts when the alert came through. The message spoke of unknown ships approaching Council space, and it made her think of something she had read long ago in the oldest records. She floated quickly to a section of the archives that few beings ever visited. Here were stored the myths and legends collected from primitive civilizations across the galaxy. Most Council members considered these stories to be worthless superstition, but Mothel had always found them fascinating. Her tentacles moved gracefully as she searched through the ancient files. Finally, she found what she was looking for. The file was labeled Human Mythology, and it contained fragments of stories that had been collected from various sources over the millennia. According to these old tales, somewhere in the galaxy lived a species called humans. The stories described them as bipedal creatures with varying skin colors and hair. But what made these tales interesting was how contradictory they were. Some stories painted humans as savage warriors who could fight with incredible ferocity. Others described them as gentle healers who would risk their lives to save strangers. Some tales spoke of humans as brilliant inventors who could solve problems that stumped entire civilizations. Others told of reckless explorers who would venture into dangerous regions of space just to see what was there. The stories made no sense because they described a species that seemed to be everything at once. Most scholars dismissed these tales as obvious fiction. No single species could be both warrior and healer, both genius and fool, both cautious and reckless. The stories were clearly the product of primitive imagination. But as Mothel read the descriptions of human technology, she began to feel uneasy. The myth spoke of ships that could travel faster than light without using the quantum drives that all known species required. They described weapons that could destroy planets, but also tools that could heal entire ecosystems. They told of machines that could think and feel like living beings. All of this had been dismissed as impossible fantasy. But now, unknown ships with impossible technology were approaching Council space. Meanwhile, aboard the massive ship leading the alien fleet, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge looking out at the stars ahead. He was a man of average height, with brown hair and calm blue eyes. At 45 years old, he had spent most of his adult life in space, but this mission was different from any other. Behind him, his crew worked at stations that hummed with quiet efficiency. Navigator Lisa Chung was a small woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. She had spent years calculating the route that brought them to this moment. Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez was a big man with gentle eyes who treated the ship's engines like beloved pets. Communications Officer Amy Turner sat at her console, her headset crackling with strange signals from the ships ahead. They had traveled for decades to reach this place. Earth's telescopes had detected signs of a vast galactic civilization in this region of space, and humanity had finally developed the technology to make the journey. The quantum fold drive had made it possible to cross the enormous distances between stars in reasonable time. Captain Morrison knew that this moment would change everything. For centuries, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they were about to meet their galactic neighbors for the first time. "Captain," Amy Turner called out, "I'm receiving multiple signals from the ships ahead. The computer is working to translate them." "What do they say?" Morrison asked. "They appear to be warnings, sir. They're telling us to identify ourselves and state our purpose. Some of the messages seem confused. It's as if they don't know what to make of us." Morrison nodded. This was expected. They had detected no human-like signals from this region of space, which meant the alien civilizations had developed independently. First contact would require careful handling. "Lisa, how long until we reach their perimeter?" he asked. Navigator Chang checked her instruments. "Approximately 2 hours at current speed, Captain." "Good. Amy, prepare a general broadcast. Pete, make sure all systems are running smoothly. We want to make a good first impression." As the human fleet drew closer, the Council's defense systems began to activate automatically. Patrol ships moved to intercept positions while massive battle stations powered up their weapons. The unknown vessels were entering restricted space, and protocol demanded a military response. But Admiral Kextar hesitated. Something about these ships troubled him. Their approach was too calm, too controlled. They showed no signs of aggressive intent, but they also showed no fear of the Council's impressive defenses. It was as if they were confident that no harm would come to them. "Open a channel to the lead ship," he ordered. "Channel open, sir. Unknown vessels, you are entering Galactic Council space without authorization. Identify yourselves immediately or we will be forced to take defensive action." For a moment, there was only silence. Then Amy Turner's voice crackled through space, speaking words that would change the galaxy forever. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Horizon. We come in peace, seeking dialogue and understanding with the galactic community. We are the humans your legends speak of, and we wish to introduce ourselves to you as friends and equals." The communication channel fell silent. Across the Council fleet, alien crew members stared at their screens in shock. The word human sent ripples of disbelief through every ship. On Nexus Prime, Wise Singer Mothel felt her tentacles trembling as she listened to the broadcast. The myths were real. The impossible stories were true. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the legendary humans had been developing in secret, and now they had come to reveal themselves to a galaxy that had never believed they existed. "Admiral," Kexter found his voice first. "Say again, unknown vessel. Did you say humans?" Captain Morrison's reply was calm and confident. "That is correct, Admiral. We are humans from the planet Earth. We have traveled far to meet you, and we hope this can be the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples. The galaxy would never be the same." The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council began within hours of the human fleet's arrival. Representatives from all 12 member species gathered in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime. The room buzzed with excited voices speaking in dozens of different languages. Some beings clicked their claws nervously. Others flashed lights on their skin to show their emotions. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension. High Counselor Vexani of the Velathi called for order. Her tentacles glowed bright yellow, which meant she was trying to stay calm but finding it difficult. She had served on the council for over 200 years and had never seen such chaos in the chamber. "Fellow council members, she said in her musical voice. "We face something that none of us expected. The beings claiming to be human have agreed to meet with us. But first, we must understand what we are dealing with." Dr. Zara Kess, the Council's chief scientist, floated to the center of the chamber. She was a Zephyrian with pale blue skin and large, intelligent eyes. In her hands, she held a datapad filled with information about the mysterious human ships. "The evidence is clear," she announced. "These beings match the descriptions found in our oldest mythology files. They are bipedal, approximately 2 meters tall, with skin colors ranging from pale to dark brown. They have hair that grows from their heads in various colors and textures, but what makes them truly remarkable is their technology." She activated a holographic display that showed images of the human ships. The assembled council members gasped as they saw the smooth, curved designs that seemed to bend light around them. "Their vessels show no signs of the quantum dampening fields that all known faster-than-light drives require," Dr. Kess continued. "Yet they have clearly traveled across vast distances to reach us. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. According to our sensors, their largest ship is powered by what appears to be a controlled black hole." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Controlling black holes was considered impossible by every known civilization. The energy required would be enormous, and the risk of catastrophic failure was beyond calculation. Furthermore, Dr. Kess added, "Their communication systems appear to be translating our languages in real time. They seem to understand everything we say to them, despite having no previous contact with our civilizations." Meanwhile, Captain Morrison was preparing for the most important meeting in human history. He stood in his quarters aboard the Horizon, adjusting his dress uniform while his senior staff briefed him on what they had learned about the alien civilizations. Dr. Helen Carter, the expedition's chief scientist, was a woman in her 50s, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had spent her career studying alien life, though until now it had all been theoretical. "Captain," she said, "their technology appears to be based on quantum manipulation, but they seem to be several centuries behind us in some areas. However, they have achieved remarkable things in biotechnology and social organization." Commander Dan Parker, head of security, was a tall man with serious eyes and careful movements. "Sir, their military capabilities appear formidable, but their tactics seem outdated. They rely heavily on large formations and overwhelming firepower. They don't seem to understand stealth technology or adaptive defenses." Navigator Lisa Chang looked up from her datapad. "Captain, I've been studying their social structures. They appear to have a complex democracy involving multiple species. It's actually quite impressive how they've managed to maintain peace between so many different civilizations." Captain Morrison nodded thoughtfully. "Remember, everyone, we're not here to judge them or show off our superiority. We're here to make friends and learn from each other. Let's focus on building trust." The meeting was arranged to take place on Harmony's Edge, a neutral space station that served as a diplomatic meeting point for the Council. The station was a beautiful structure made of crystal and metal that sparkled like a jewel against the stars. Captain Morrison chose his delegation carefully. Along with Dr. Carter and Commander Parker, he brought Communications Officer Amy Turner and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Nina Foster. Dr. Foster was a gentle woman with healing hands who had volunteered for the mission because she believed that medicine was a universal language. The human shuttle approached Harmony's Edge with grace and silence. The alien observers were amazed to see that it seemed to pass through the station's defensive shields without triggering any alarms. The shuttle's hull shimmered like water, and it docked so smoothly that the station's sensors barely registered its arrival. Inside the station's grand diplomatic hall, representatives from all 12 council species waited nervously. The room was designed to accommodate different atmospheric needs, with sections containing various gas mixtures and gravity levels. When the airlock opened and the humans walked in, a hush fell over the chamber. The aliens stared in fascination at these beings who had been considered mythical for so long. They noted the humans' varied appearances: Captain Morrison's brown hair and blue eyes, Dr. Carter's gray hair and dark skin, Amy Turner's red hair and freckles, Commander Parker's blonde hair and green eyes. But what struck the aliens most was how calm and confident the humans appeared. They showed no fear, no aggression, no signs of being overwhelmed by meeting so many different species at once. They simply looked around the room with genuine curiosity and interest. Captain Morrison stepped forward and spoke in a clear, friendly voice. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, we come to you with open hearts and minds. We bring greetings from Earth and from all humanity. We have traveled far to meet you, and we are grateful for this opportunity." High Counselor Vexani responded with careful formality. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We confess that your arrival has surprised us greatly. We had thought your species to be mythological." Dr. Carter smiled and activated a holographic projector she had brought. "We understand your surprise. We have been developing in isolation for many thousands of years. Allow me to share our story with you." The hologram showed images of Earth, blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in beautiful patterns. The aliens watched in wonder as they saw humanity's homeworld for the first time. "We evolved on a planet we call Earth," Dr. Carter explained. "Our world is rich in water and supports many different forms of life. Humans developed in various regions with different climates, which is why we have different physical appearances. The images changed to show human history, ancient civilizations, the development of agriculture, the Industrial Revolution, the Space Age. The aliens saw humans working together, fighting wars, creating art, exploring their world, and then reaching for the stars. We are a young species compared to many of you," Dr. Carter continued. "But we have always been curious about what lies beyond our world. When we developed the technology to travel between stars, our first priority was to find other intelligent life. What amazed the Council most was humanity's approach to problem solving. The humans showed examples of their technology: medical devices that could heal almost any injury, computers that could think and learn, energy systems that produced no waste or pollution. But they also showed their mistakes: wars that had devastated their planet, pollution that had nearly destroyed their environment, conflicts that had almost led to their extinction. "We have learned from our errors," Captain Morrison explained. "We have discovered that our greatest strength comes not from our technology, but from our ability to work together despite our differences. Every human on our ships represents a different culture, a different way of thinking, but we have united around common goals." Commander Parker demonstrated some of their defensive technology by showing how their personal shields could adapt to different types of attacks. The shields learned from each assault and became stronger, but they were designed to protect rather than harm. Dr. Foster shared some of their medical breakthroughs, including treatments that could cure diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. But she emphasized that their medicine was based on understanding and working with natural processes, rather than simply overwhelming them with brute force. The meeting continued for hours as the humans answered questions and shared more of their knowledge. They offered to help with various problems the Council faced: diseases that affected certain species, environmental damage on some worlds, conflicts between member civilizations, but they were also clear about their limitations. They admitted that they were still learning, still making mistakes, still trying to become better than they were. As the meeting ended, the aliens found themselves looking at humanity with a mixture of awe and hope. These beings possessed incredible power, but they seemed to use it wisely. They had technology that could reshape the galaxy, but they offered it freely to help others. High Counselor Vexani spoke for the entire Council when she said, "Humans of Earth, you have given us much to consider. We welcome you to our galaxy and look forward to learning more about your remarkable species." But even as she spoke the words of welcome, Vexani knew that everything had changed. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted with the arrival of these legendary beings, and no one could predict what would happen next. News of humanity's arrival spread across the galaxy faster than anyone could have imagined. On thousands of worlds, beings gathered around communication devices to hear the incredible story. The myths were real. The legendary humans had finally revealed themselves to the galaxy. But not everyone was pleased by this news. In the dark halls of the Hegemony Command Center, Supreme Commander Vorth stood before a massive war table. He was a Drokan, a species that looked like giant lizards with thick armor plating covering their bodies. His yellow eyes glowed with anger as he listened to reports from his spies. "These humans think they can simply appear in our galaxy and demand respect," he hissed to his war council. "They have impressive technology, but they are only one species. We are many. We are strong. We have conquered half the galaxy through military might, and we will not bow to these newcomers." General Krickstar, his second-in-command, nodded in agreement. "My lord, our intelligence reports suggest that the humans have only a few dozen ships. Our fleet numbers in the thousands. Even if their individual ships are powerful, they cannot match our numbers." Commander Vorth's claws scraped against the metal table. "Exactly. We must test their strength before they become too comfortable in our galaxy. Send word to our raider fleets. Find a human ship that is alone and vulnerable. We will see how strong these mythical beings really are." The opportunity came sooner than expected. The human ship Discovery had separated from the main fleet to conduct scientific research near a colorful nebula called the Crystal Cloud. The ship was smaller than the others, clearly designed for exploration rather than warfare. It seemed like the perfect target. Captain Ross Bennett commanded the Discovery. He was a quiet man with thoughtful brown eyes who had volunteered for the mission because he loved learning about new things. His crew was small but dedicated, including Chief Medical Officer Dr. Nina Foster and Science Officer Dr. Paul Mason. Dr. Foster was studying samples of space dust from the nebula when the ship's alarms began to sound. She looked up from her microscope to see red lights flashing throughout the laboratory. "All crew members to battle stations," came Captain Bennett's calm voice over the ship's communication system. "We have unknown vessels approaching at high speed." Dr. Paul Mason, a young man with curious eyes and quick hands, ran to the bridge to join his captain. Through the main viewing screen, they could see 5 large ships approaching from different directions. The ships were dark and angular, with weapon ports glowing red along their hulls. "Captain," called Communications Officer Amy Turner from her station, "the approaching ships are not responding to our peaceful contact attempts. Their weapon systems are powering up." Captain Bennett frowned. This was not what humanity had hoped for from first contact with new alien species. Raise shields and prepare defensive systems. But do not fire unless they attack first. We came here in peace, and we will maintain that position as long as possible. The raider ships belonged to a species called the Vex, who served as mercenaries for the Hegemony. They were known throughout the galaxy for their brutal tactics and their willingness to attack anyone for the right price. Their leader, Captain Zektar, had been promised a great reward for testing the humans' defenses. "Target their engines," Zektar ordered his crew. "We want to disable them, not destroy them. The Hegemony wants to study their technology." The first attack came without warning. Bright red energy beams lanced out from the raider ships, striking the Discovery's shields with tremendous force. The human ship shook under the impact, but its defenses held. What happened next amazed the attacking aliens. Instead of weakening, under the assault, the Discovery's shields began to glow brighter. The energy from the enemy weapons seemed to be absorbed and converted into additional shield strength. "Impossible," muttered Zektar. "Their shields are adapting to our weapons." He was right. The Discovery's defensive systems were designed to learn from each attack, analyzing the energy patterns and adjusting to provide better protection. With each blast from the raider weapons, the human ship became harder to damage. Captain Bennett watched his defense readings with satisfaction. "Amy, open a channel to the attacking ships." "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Ross Bennett of the United Earthship Discovery. We are here on a peaceful scientific mission. We do not wish to fight you, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Please stop your attack and explain your intentions." The only response was another wave of energy beams. This time, the raiders tried different weapon types, hoping to find a weakness in the human defenses. They fired particle beams, plasma bolts, and even gravity distortion waves, None of it worked. The Discovery's shields adapted to each new attack, becoming stronger and more efficient. What should have been a quick victory for the Raiders was turning into an embarrassing failure. "Captain," said Dr. Mason from the science station, "our computer systems have analyzed their attack patterns. We now understand their weapon technology completely. Should we respond?" Captain Bennett considered his options. The humans had come to this galaxy seeking friendship, but they could not allow themselves to be attacked without consequence. "Prepare defensive countermeasures. But remember, we want to disable them, not destroy them." The Discovery's response was swift and precise. Instead of firing weapons, the human ship released what looked like small silver spheres. These spheres moved through space like living things, approaching the Raider ships with impossible speed and agility. When the spheres reached the enemy vessels, they attached themselves to the hull and began to do something that terrified the alien crews. The Raider ships' own weapons began to turn around, pointing back at their own vessels. Their computer systems started displaying error messages in languages they didn't recognize. "What is happening?" shouted Zektar as his ship's weapons powered down against his commands. The answer came from Dr. Mason, who was monitoring the situation. "From the Discovery. Our adaptive viruses have infected their computer systems. The viruses learn how their technology works and then convince it to work for us instead." Within minutes, all 5 Raider ships were completely disabled. Their weapons would not fire, their engines would not start, and their communication systems played only human music. The crews were unharmed but trapped aboard their own vessels. But Captain Bennett was not finished. True to human nature, he immediately began broadcasting medical assistance to the disabled ships. "This is Captain Bennett. We are reading life. Signs aboard your vessels. Do any of your crew members require medical attention? We are prepared to offer assistance." The offer confused the Raiders completely. In their experience, victorious enemies either destroyed the defeated or left them to die. They had never encountered anyone who would attack and then immediately offer help to their victims. Dr. Foster prepared medical supplies while Captain Bennett continued his broadcast. "We are transmitting repair instructions for your basic life support systems. We do not wish to see anyone harmed, even those who attacked us without cause." The entire encounter was being monitored by ships throughout the galaxy. The Hegemony Command Center watched in stunned silence as their carefully planned test turned into a demonstration of human superiority and mercy. Admiral Kextar, who had been studying human tactical patterns, was impressed by what he saw. "They could have destroyed those ships easily," he told his staff. "Instead, they disabled them and then offered medical aid. These humans fight with both strength and compassion." Word of the incident spread quickly through galactic communication networks. The story was told and retold, growing more impressive with each telling. The humans had faced their first test and passed it with honor, but the encounter also revealed something important about human technology. Their ships were not just advanced, they were adaptive. They could learn from their enemies and use that knowledge to defend themselves. This made them far more dangerous than anyone had realized. Supreme Commander Vorth was furious when he heard the reports. 5 ships defeated by 1? This is impossible. The humans must have some weakness we have not discovered yet. General Krixtar was less confident. "My lord, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. These beings have shown both advanced technology and restraint. They could be valuable allies rather than enemies." "Never," snarled Vorth. "No one enters our galaxy without proving their strength to the hegemony. If small raids will not work, then we will send a larger force. We will test these humans until we find their breaking point." Meanwhile, on the Discovery, Captain Bennett was completing his mission report. The scientific data from the nebula was fascinating, but the encounter with the Raiders was more important. It showed that not all species in the galaxy were friendly. "Captain," said Dr. Foster, "do you think there will be more attacks?" Bennett looked out at the stars through the main viewing screen. "Probably. We knew that revealing ourselves would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Some groups will see us as a threat to their way of life. We must be prepared to defend ourselves while still seeking peaceful solutions." Dr. Mason nodded in agreement. At least now they know that we are not helpless. Maybe that will make them think twice before attacking other human ships. The defeat of the Raider ships sent shockwaves through the hegemony command structure. Supreme Commander Vorth paced back and forth in his war room, his heavy footsteps echoing off the metal walls. His yellow eyes burned with rage as he read report after report about the human victory. "This is unacceptable," he growled to his assembled generals. "5 of our best Raider ships defeated by a single human vessel. Our reputation throughout the galaxy is being questioned." General Crickstar shifted nervously. "My lord, perhaps we underestimated their capabilities. The report suggests their technology is far more advanced than we thought." Vorth's claws scraped against the table surface. "I do not care how advanced. They think they are. We have ruled half this galaxy through strength and fear. If we allow these newcomers to make us look weak, every species under our control will begin to rebel." The Supreme Commander activated a large holographic display that showed the positions of hegemony fleets throughout their territory. Hundreds of red dots appeared, representing thousands of warships spread across dozens of star systems. "Send word to all fleet commanders," Vorth ordered. "I want every available ship to gather at the Nexus staging area. We will show these humans the true power of the hegemony." The call went out across hegemony space. Battle fleets that had been patrolling distant worlds began moving toward a secret military base hidden in an asteroid field. Within days, the largest invasion force in galactic history was assembling. News of the hegemony's military buildup reached the human fleet through their new allies among the Valathi. Wise-Singer Mothel had become fascinated by human culture and had been sharing information with them about galactic politics. "Your species has made a powerful enemy," she warned Captain Morrison during a private communication. "The hegemony has never accepted defeat gracefully. They are gathering ships from across their territory." Captain Morrison studied the intelligence reports on his command screen. The numbers were staggering. The hegemony was mobilizing over 3,000 warships, including massive dreadnoughts that could destroy entire planets. By comparison, the human fleet consisted of only 60 vessels. "How long do we have?" Morrison asked. "Perhaps 2 weeks before they are ready to attack," Mothel replied. "What will you do? Your ships are powerful, but can they face such numbers?" Morrison called a meeting of his senior officers. Admiral Kate Sullivan had recently arrived from Earth with reinforcements, bringing the human fleet's total strength to its current level. She was a stern woman with gray hair and sharp eyes who had commanded Earth's home defense fleet. "The situation is clear," Morrison explained to his staff. "The hegemony sees us as a threat to their authority. They're preparing to attack us with overwhelming force." Strategic analyst Dr. Ben Cooper, a thoughtful man who studied military tactics, spoke up. "Captain, even with our advanced technology, fighting 3,000 ships with 60 would be extremely difficult. We should consider falling back to Earth and preparing better defenses." Admiral Sullivan shook her head. "Retreat is not an option. If we run now, it will show weakness. Every hostile species in the galaxy will think they can attack human ships without consequence." Commander Parker leaned forward. "What if we don't fight them the way they expect? They're preparing for a traditional space battle with large fleets and massive firepower, but that's not how humans fight." Morrison smiled slightly. "What do you have in mind?" "Send one ship," Parker suggested. "Let them see what human technology can really do. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to avoid fighting it." The suggestion seemed crazy to most of the officers, but Morrison understood the logic. Throughout human history, small forces had sometimes defeated much larger ones through superior tactics and technology. The key was to make such an impressive demonstration that the enemy would reconsider their aggression. The ship chosen for this mission was the Defiance, commanded by Captain Mike Torres. Torres was a calm man with steady hands and a reputation for creative problem-solving. His ship was one of humanity's most advanced vessels, equipped with experimental technology that had never been tested in real combat. As the Defiance approached the massive hegemony fleet, the aliens watched in disbelief. A single human ship was challenging an armada that filled space from horizon to horizon. It seemed like suicide. Supreme Commander Vorth laughed when he saw the readings. One ship? Have these humans lost their minds? Destroy it quickly, then we will hunt down the rest of their fleet. But Captain Torres had no intention of engaging in a conventional battle. As the hegemony ships opened fire, something impossible happened. The Defiance seemed to split into multiple copies of itself, each one moving in a different direction. "What is this trick?" demanded General Krickstar, staring at his sensors. The answer was quantum duplication technology. The Defiance existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing it to appear in several places at once. Each copy was real. Each one could fight independently, but they were all controlled by the same crew. The hegemony weapons fired at all the targets, but hitting them proved almost impossible. The multiple versions of the Defiance moved through, space-like ghosts, phasing in and out of normal reality. When enemy weapons struck them, the shots often passed right through without causing damage. But the human ship's counterattack was devastating. The Defiance's weapons created what looked like tears in space itself. These rifts moved toward the enemy ships like living things, and when they made contact, the results were terrifying. The first hegemony dreadnought simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not exploded. It just ceased to be there. One moment, it was firing its massive guns. The next moment, there was empty space where it had been. "Impossible," whispered Vorth, his confidence beginning to crack. Captain Torres opened a communication channel to the entire enemy fleet. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke. "This is Captain Mike Torres of the United Earthship Defiance. We do not wish to destroy you, but we will not allow you to threaten peaceful beings. Your weapons cannot harm us, but we can unmake your ships at the atomic level. Withdraw now, and no more of your people will be harmed." To prove his point, Torres targeted another enemy vessel. This time, instead of making it disappear, he demonstrated precise control. The massive warship's weapons simply stopped working. Its armor plating became as soft as cloth. Its engines shut down completely. The ship was still there, but it was no longer capable of fighting. The demonstration sent panic through the hegemony fleet. Their most powerful dreadnoughts were being defeated by technology they could not understand or counter. Some ship captains began to retreat without orders, but Supreme Commander Vorth was not ready to give up. "All ships focus fire on that vessel. Use everything we have. It cannot maintain those tricks forever." Thousands of weapons fired at once, creating a storm of energy that lit up space like a miniature star. Surely no ship could survive such concentrated firepower. But when the light faded, the Defiance was still there, unharmed. In fact, it seemed to be absorbing the energy from the enemy attacks and using it to power its own systems. Captain Torres spoke again, and this time his voice carried across the entire galaxy through communication networks. "People of the galaxy, we are not conquerors. We do not seek to dominate or rule over others, but we will protect ourselves and our friends from those who choose aggression over peace." The Defiance began moving through the hegemony fleet like a shark through a school of fish. Every ship it touched became helpless. Weapons stopped working. Engines shut down. Computer systems displayed messages of peace in the aliens' own languages. But none of the enemy crew members were harmed. The humans could have destroyed the entire fleet in minutes, but instead, they were simply removing the ship's ability to fight. Within an hour, the most powerful military force in galactic history was floating helplessly in space. 3,000 warships had been neutralized by a single human vessel, and not one life had been lost. Supreme Commander Vorth found himself aboard a ship that no longer obeyed his commands. His weapons were silent, his engines dead, his communication systems playing strange human music that somehow made him feel calm and peaceful. Captain Torres made one final broadcast. "Commander Vorth, your fleet is defeated, but your people are safe. We offer you a choice. Continue your aggression and face the consequences, or join us in building a better galaxy where all species can live in peace. The decision is yours." Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the aftermath of the battle that wasn't really a battle. The humans had demonstrated power beyond imagination, but they had used it to disable rather than destroy. They had shown mercy to enemies who had shown them none. The message was clear. Humanity possessed the ability to reshape the galaxy by force, but they chose to use their power responsibly. They were protectors, not conquerors. But the display of human capabilities also raised new questions. If they could do this to the mighty hegemony fleet, what else were they capable of? How much power did these mysterious beings actually possess? The disabled hegemony ships received repair instructions and medical assistance from human vessels. A new chapter in galactic history was beginning. The defeat of the hegemony fleet changed everything in the galaxy. Within days of the battle, representatives from dozens of species were requesting meetings with the humans. Some came seeking protection from their enemies. Others wanted to learn about human technology. Many simply wanted to understand these mysterious beings who wielded godlike power with such restraint. The Galactic Council called an emergency session to discuss humanity's place in their civilization. High Counselor Vexani floated at the center of the Great Chamber, her tentacles glowing with nervous energy as she addressed the assembled representatives. "Fellow council members," she began, "we can no longer ignore the reality before us. The humans possess technology and capabilities far beyond our own. We must decide how to proceed." Some species wanted to offer the humans immediate membership in the council with full voting rights. Others suggested creating a special advisory position that would recognize their unique status. A few representatives, mostly allies of the defeated hegemony, argued for caution and restriction. But the humans had their own ideas about how to move forward. Ambassador Carol Stevens was humanity's chosen representative for diplomatic matters. She was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a gentle voice that somehow commanded attention in any room. She had spent her career resolving conflicts between different human nations and cultures on Earth. Standing beside her was Dr. Sarah Williams, humanity's chief expert on alien societies. Dr. Williams was fascinated by the different ways intelligent species had developed across the galaxy. Commander Tony Garcia, head of the new Human Galactic Cooperation Initiative, completed the human delegation. Honored council members, Ambassador Stevens said as she addressed the chamber, "We are grateful for your offer of membership, but we believe the galaxy needs something more than just adding another voice to your existing system." She activated a holographic display that showed a new kind of governmental structure. Instead of the hierarchical system the council used, with some species having more power than others, the human proposal created a more democratic approach. "We suggest forming a new galactic federation," Stevens explained. "Every species, regardless of size or technological development, would have an equal voice in decisions that affect the galaxy. We would share our knowledge and resources to help all civilizations reach their full potential." The proposal was revolutionary. Many of the smaller species in the council had always been overshadowed by the more powerful civilizations. The idea of true equality was exciting to them, but it worried some of the larger powers. Dr. Williams stepped forward to address these concerns. "We understand that change can be frightening, but we have learned from our own history that cooperation produces better results than domination. When different perspectives work together, they create solutions that no single group could achieve alone." To demonstrate their commitment to this philosophy, the humans began sharing some of their most valuable technologies. They offered medical treatments that could cure diseases that had plagued certain species for centuries. They provided agricultural techniques that could turn barren worlds into gardens. They shared manufacturing methods that could produce goods without polluting the environment. But perhaps most importantly, they revealed the source of their technological superiority. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, made the announcement. During a special broadcast to the entire galaxy, "People of the stars," he said, "we have a confession to make. Humanity did not develop all of our technology alone." The revelation sent shockwaves through the galactic communication networks. Admiral Morrison continued his explanation from the AIM bridge of the horizon, with Earth's blue and green surface visible through the main viewing screen behind him. "Over the past 1,000 years, Earth has been quietly visited by representatives from many different civilizations. Some came as explorers, others as refugees fleeing conflicts in their home regions. Instead of conquering or being conquered, we learned to integrate different approaches to science and technology." The images on the screen showed glimpses of Earth's hidden diversity. There were underground cities where silicon-based beings lived alongside humans, ocean settlements where aquatic species had shared their knowledge of underwater technology, mountain laboratories where energy beings had taught humans to manipulate matter at the quantum level. Our greatest achievement, Morrison explained, was not any single invention or discovery. It was learning to unite different types of intelligence toward common goals. Our ships are crewed not just by humans, but by artificial intelligences that think and feel, by uplifted animal species from Earth and by alien refugees who chose to make our world their home. This revelation explained many of the mysteries about human technology. Their ships seemed to think because they contained true artificial intelligence. Their medical technology was so advanced because it combined the knowledge of dozens of different biological systems. Their weapons were so precise because they incorporated the mathematical insights of purely logical species. The announcement had an immediate effect on galactic politics. Species that had been fighting for centuries began to reconsider their conflicts. If humans could successfully integrate such diversity, perhaps there was hope for broader galactic cooperation. The hegemony was among the first to embrace this new approach. Supreme Commander Vorth, his ship still disabled, but his crew safe, sent a message to the human fleet requesting negotiations. The defeat had humbled him, but the humans' merciful treatment of his forces had impressed him even more. "I have ruled through fear for too long," Vorth admitted during his first meeting with Ambassador Stevens. "Your people have shown me that true strength comes from bringing others up, not keeping them down." The transformation of the hegemony was remarkable. Within months, the aggressive military alliance began converting its war fleets into exploration and construction vessels. Former enemies of the hegemony watched in amazement as Droken soldiers helped rebuild worlds they had once conquered. But the changes went deeper than just politics and military matters. The humans introduced new ways of thinking about problems that affected the entire galaxy. When the Zephyrian colonies faced a plague that their medical technology could not cure, human doctors worked alongside Zephyrian healers and Velothi bioengineers to develop a treatment. The solution combined human genetic therapy, Zephyrian surgical techniques, and Velothi empathic healing. When the Kronak homeworld began experiencing climate changes that threatened their civilization, human environmental engineers teamed up with Kronak builders and other species to develop new terraforming methods. The project became a model for ecological restoration throughout the galaxy. Education systems were revolutionized as human teachers shared their methods with alien educators. Instead of each species learning only about their own history and culture, students throughout the galaxy began studying the achievements and wisdom of all civilizations. The establishment of the new Galactic Federation took place on a specially constructed space station called Unity Point. Representatives from over 200 species gathered to sign the founding charter. The ceremony was attended by beings from every corner of known space. Admiral Morrison stood with the other founding members as they formally dissolved the old Galactic Council and created the new Democratic Federation. The moment was broadcast to billions of worlds, marking the beginning of a new age of cooperation. "Today," Ambassador Stevens said in her speech, "we take the first step toward a galaxy where every intelligent being has the opportunity to reach their full potential. We may be different in our bodies, our thoughts, and our cultures, but we share the same curiosity about the universe and the same desire to build something better for our children." The years that followed were filled with unprecedented progress. Scientific discoveries accelerated as researchers from different species shared their knowledge. Art and culture flourished as beings learned to appreciate forms of beauty they had never imagined. Conflicts that had raged for centuries were resolved through patient negotiation and mutual understanding. Children throughout the galaxy grew up learning about the diversity of intelligent life. Human schools welcomed alien students, while human children studied on worlds with different gravities and atmospheres. The next generation would be truly galactic citizens, comfortable with differences and skilled at finding common ground. Fleet Admiral Morrison often stood in the observation lounge of Unity Point, watching ships from hundreds of species dock at the station's many ports. The sight never failed to fill him with wonder. Beings that had once been enemies now worked together on projects that benefited everyone. Dr. Carter, now director of the Federation's Scientific Council, frequently remarked on how much they had all learned. "We came to the galaxy thinking we had advanced technology," she said during one interview. "But we discovered that our real gift was not what we had invented, but how we approached problems with open minds and generous hearts." The greatest test of the new Federation came when long-range sensors detected signals from the edge of known space. There were more civilizations out there, some of them possibly more advanced than anything the galaxy had yet encountered.